You know how the story originally broke? The Packers podcaster named Big B.
Shout out Big B.
Jamal Williams is inside the 30, out in front, a Green Bay touchdown.
Jamal Williams is the GOAT, the GOAT. That's all you need to know.
Let's keep it under 25 minutes, all right?
We might be too young to have a spotted cow, but we are both diehard Packers fans. The Green Bay Packers are heading back to the playoffs for the first time since its 2021 season. Not that that's been too incredibly long of a time when you put it in perspective of teams like the terrible Detroit Lions or Chicago Bears. But it's been a long time for us Packers fans. It's been since the divisional round of 2020 against the LA Rams since the Packers got a divisional win. So we've quite frankly been in a drought. And they got to the playoffs by getting a win in the situation they were last year where they fell short, winning in against the Chicago Bears 17-9. You know the story. Awesome game. It was too close for the heart, but also the Packers, the score was kind of misleading. The Packers dominated that game on both sides of the ball, quite frankly. And if it wasn't for Jordan Love's fumble on the 3rd and 2 run, then quite honestly, I don't think our heart is racing quite as much there near the end. But that doesn't matter. They get the win, ending the season off 9-8. It is awesome. I'm Joey, and joining me here to recap that win is my friend Big B. How are we feeling this early week here?
You know, I'm on top of the world. I am living life. I haven't been this happy in a very, very long time. And it just feels so good to be back in the playoffs. And if you told me at the beginning of the year that all of our goals have been reached at the end of the regular season, I would have been ecstatic. I would have been, we're going to the Super Bowl. And guess what? We're going to the Super Bowl, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at. And when you look at just what was I gonna say? This team of what you mentioned of accomplishing all of the goals here in one season. I mean that's very much the truth. And Wayne Larrabee had an amazing call at the end of the game, where Jordan was walking off the field and he says, "And what was supposed to be a rebuild year for this team, they're making the playoffs." And he has an epic line where he says, "The future is now." We are in it after all these years of kind of waiting and knowing they're trying to reform this team. They're trying to build. They were basically trying to build two teams at once, right? And now we're finally here for the second version of the team that they were building, and it looks pretty cool. And it is a very exciting team to watch. And I think the biggest takeaway, it's hard not to compare this team to last year when they had the exact same situation. And my biggest takeaway from last year's loss against Detroit was this team is old. They're boring. They're old, and there's just not a lot going on for them. They couldn't play in the cold. And then this year, my main takeaway was also the age of this team, but the reverse of it. They're so young. There's so much young talent that we are just seeing the beginning of, and it is such an exciting time. Just this playoff berth alone, no matter what happens in this game against Dallas or in any future games, just this playoff berth alone means a lot for this Packers team. And I reference, throughout this run a lot, the fact that from the beginning of the Rodgers era, those 3 years there, Brian Gutekunst always talks about viewing things in a 3-year window. And that 3-year window for the Packers in 2008 to 2010, you had 2008, they go 6-10 in Aaron's first year as a starter. They do lose quite a few close games there, but the team, there was, it's interesting too, because they had some young playmakers on the rise. I think Jordy was 09, I might be off of that. But they had Greg Jennings there. They had Donald Driver there. And you could see they were building something special. But they weren't quite as talented as this 2023 team, in my opinion, at least. But then in 2009, they really start to put things together. They make the playoffs. They have a shootout game against the Cardinals. And, I was 4 at the time. So I can't exactly give an exact reading on how much momentum it provided for that Packers team. But it would seem like that 2009 run no matter the loss, really proved to be a momentum building season for the Packers that they took into winning the Super Bowl in 2010. Long story short here is that team, it took them 2 years to really get to the point where they could be a Super Bowl team. This 2023 team, now they could win the Super Bowl this year, and we'll talk about that more in this episode and then in the one we'll be doing later in the week. But they really consolidated the process into one short year of what the early Rodgers Packers took 2 years to do. And it's really exciting. And it just seems like this team could do some special things in this year, quite honestly. But let's talk a little bit more about this performance against the Chicago Bears, because it was one of the Packers' best of the season. Big B, I'll start off with you. We talked last week about how in games like these and in playoff games, this is basically a de facto playoff game, that you need to have guys who have some of the best performances of their careers, guys that step out of nowhere, to have those big games in order to win these big games. So, who are some players that really stood out to you having best performances of their career?
Yeah, I would say Jordan Love, but I think he had some better performances. Yeah, in the second half was incredible. But I'm gonna go with Dontavian Wicks. That man had 2 touchdowns. He was juking people out of their shoes. He was doing some Devontae Adams type releases
Yes.
off the line, and he really balled out. I know after the game, I don't know who it was, said that it's been like it was the same day that one of his teammates passed away. I don't know when
Yes.
that was though. So he
It
was
was
playing
so it
for
was
his teammate. Just
there was a shooting of Virginia players last year. I want to say it was the birthday of one of those victims.
okay, okay, yeah. Had one of his best games of the season on his teammate's birthday, who passed away. So just an incredible performance from Dontavian Wicks. I think he's really starting to figure it out, I guess, starting to really build momentum. And he's going to be a really fun player for the future. He's got that Devontae Adams type releases, just and he really is looking like Devontae Adams. I hate comparing
Yeah.
such young players to him because he's one of the best receivers in the league, but he really is reminding me of Devontae, and I'm super pumped to see what he does in this Dallas game and hopefully upcoming games the rest of the season.
Yeah, the Devontae comparison is very apt. The releasing is a very good point, and we really saw that on his it was the first touchdown, I believe, where he just has a dig route, and it is, I mean, he has the defender beat by 2 yards off the line of scrimmage just from his release. Dontavian had a great game. Jaden Reed also had a great game, mostly just from 2 big plays. He had 4 receptions for 112 yards, along with that 59-yard one that was basically the dagger in the game.
Mhm.
Jaden had a really good performance. I did want to highlight Jordan Love. Because I mean, like you said, like you could argue that he's had some better performances this season, but I would make the case that this was his best one. I don't think we've ever seen him have as many big moments where he's needed to step up and he delivered in those as we did in this game. Also, just the amount of there's not a good word for it. I labeled it on Twitter at one time as off-platform, oh my God throws. A lot of wild throws from Jordan Love this week. Even like the simple, well, I was going to like 15, 20 yarders. Those aren't necessarily simple, but man, like he just has a heck of a release on the ball. He's really fun to watch. And I think the conversation going in to next year about Jordan Love should be that he is, without question, a top 10 quarterback. Honestly, I think I would struggle to name 9 quarterbacks better than Jordan Love right now.
Yes,
And
I love that man so much. He like I tweeted after the game. That man could have my children. That man could have my future home. That man can
mm,
have my entire bank account. I love that man. He can have everything I have,
wow,
everything I own, everything I haven't owned in the future. Like that man, I love him so much. I would do anything for that man.
can
I
he
love
can he
him.
have your Jamal Williams card collection?
He can have my Jamal Williams card collection.
Whoa,
He is past that. All right.
okay,
I love it.
That's a big statement.
Yes, I'm slowly becoming the biggest Jordan Love fanboy on this planet, and I'm very scared
Wow.
about that, but it's happening, and I'm, very excited.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely both were on that end calling people out early on in his career of like, just give him a chance, please. He's gonna be special. He showed he could be special at Utah State. And honestly, like
Exactly.
this season, I thought it would be so much more redeeming as far as like being able to tell people I told you so. But honestly, like I haven't had that desire. I've kind of just been like, yeah, he's great, and that's the end of it. It's been very fun to enjoy. That's Jordan Love. And then also I want to say, as far as having a best performance of their career or up there, Aaron Jones, I wouldn't say this is the best performance of his career. Um, but it definitely was a trademark Aaron Jones game. Okay. 22 carries, 111 yards. He leads the league in rushing since week 15. And there was just so many third down plays where it's like, there's no way Aaron's going to get that. And then he finds a way to stumble for 6 yards. He is a fighter. He might be small, but he has that dog in him. And the Packers really needed that type of performance from Aaron Jones. And it just has that feeling that like if Aaron Jones is on the field, then the Packers offense like has a chance. Like the same confidence a lot of teams have with like quarterbacks. And I'm starting to feel that with Jordan Love, but he hasn't had enough clutch moments yet, enough opportunities to prove that yet. I feel that so much with Aaron Jones. So that's great, and very excited that he's getting healthy at the right time. Also having some really good performances. Jair Alexander had his best performance of the season by far. He had that one play where they were in zone and DJ Moore went over the middle and he did a bad job of passing the coverage off. So Quay Walker ended up on DJ Moore over the middle of the field. Big B's got the cloud goggles on, of course. Very good game for Jair. He had that pass breakup in the end zone, of course. Defense as a whole, 5 sacks for them. Obviously holding the Bears to 9 points. Could have been better. Wasn't perfect from the defense, but overall a solid day. Really liked the game from Quay Walker. Loved the game from Carl Brooks and Devontae Wyatt. Solid performance from this defense, and especially the young talent out there for that team.
I'm gonna take
Okay.
the spotlight here for a minute and say that I've been a big Joe Barry hater, and I think everybody knows that by now. But
Go ahead.
I'm going to say the man is redeeming himself. All right, ever since the Tampa Bay game,
we are not doing this.
He's been slowly starting to redeem himself.
No,
I don't know if it's just Matt LaFleur being more involved, but the defensive game plans have been better. The game plan going in seems to be being better. The aggressiveness seems to be a lot better. And overall, the defense has been playing so much better since the Tampa Bay game. But I will say we haven't faced a good quarterback yet. That is the key thing. That is still very scary. And going into this Dallas game, that is what's terrifying me the most is Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, just cooking this defense. But we will talk more about that in our upcoming episode, and I'll leave that for later in the week.
Yeah, I'm very excited for the Dallas matchup. What you mentioned about the defense, I'm not going to give Joe Barry a lot of credit. I still think he should be fired after this season.
Oh, absolutely. That's definitely not what I was saying. Keeping him, like he's got to be gone. But like he's been doing a lot better. All right.
Now I do like, as much as I want to shut you completely down on that and say it's just the players. Like from what there was an interview that Quay Walker did, where he was talking about the last 2 performances from the defense and what's been working for them, and he mentioned players buying into the scheme, buying into the game plan. And instead of like, complaining about play calls or, doing their own thing, like they are just like running the defense. That's not nothing as far as the job Joe Barry is doing. However, still fire Joe Barry. Okay, now I know we just said leaving the Cowboys stuff for later in the week in our episode, but I did want to give a brief review, more so of just how we kind of think this team is going to perform in the playoffs. We mentioned last week that this team has not really shown that they can put together consistent good performances. This last stretch here of Panthers, Vikings, Bears is tied for the longest winning streak the Packers have had all season of 3. So if they beat the Cowboys, it would be their biggest winning streak of the season. I mean, they certainly do seem to be getting hot at the right time. But we've been led down this path before where the Packers, kind of beat down on bad teams and they, get our hopes up for what they really are. However, specifically with this Cowboys matchup, we talked after the Chiefs game. It was going into the Buccaneers the Giants the week after that, and it was the week ahead of the Buccaneers game that I mentioned that they are able to limit Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense, and then they go out there and have a really bad performance against Tommy DeVito and the Giants. The point I made was that this defense is much more set up to stop Patrick Mahomes than it is Tommy DeVito. Players that know their talent and are going to be more aggressive. And I think when you look at Dak Prescott, this might be a case of the defense being more set up to stop that quarterback instead of a bad one. And it's so ironic. It quite honestly makes no sense. But it will certainly be interesting to see how this defense plays the Cowboys. And that's really just going to be the biggest question in this game. I think I'm not exactly scared about this Packers offense going up against any defense. They've put up 34 on the Chiefs, a solid defense. The Bears have been one of the best in the league the last half of the season, and 17 points isn't all that great, but they dominated them outside of the scoreboard. So I'm not exactly worried about the offense just going out and flopping. I'm worried about the defense just blowing it, which would not be the first time the Packers defense did that in a playoff game. That's going to be the biggest concern. And the offense obviously has to do their part, but I just don't know if the offense is having an average day, then the Packers are losing. Like it's that simple. They have to be on their A game, which is a lot of pressure, but that's just the case of it. We saw against Panthers when offense put up 33 points against Panthers, but they really became stagnant in the second half. They can't afford a bad game in the playoffs. So I'm really excited for this matchup though. Honestly, I'm feeling more confident going into this wild card game against Dallas than I was for the Bears last week. So I don't know if that's good or not, to be honest with you. But
that's crazy. I don't get that at all. I just don't get that.
Big B,
sense.
early thoughts on this Dallas matchup and the confidence you're feeling?
Oh yeah, the confidence is through the roof. All right, I told myself Sunday night that not getting my hopes up. Everything that we've accomplished so far is perfect for me. But the more this week goes on, the more I'm saying we're beating the Cowboys by 50. All right, but I do think, like you said, the offense needs to have its best performance. Micah Parsons, he's very scary. All right, and him going up against Rasheed Walker, not necessarily great, but Rasheed has been playing amazing the second half of this year. So hopefully Rasheed has one of the best games of his career. The defense, like you also said, has to not blow this game, keep it manageable for the offense to win this game. And I'm feeling confident. We should win this game. Maybe not should, but we have a very good chance at winning this game.
Yes.
And, we play up to our opponents. We also play down to our opponents. Cowboys are a much better team than us. So hopefully we will get the team that plays up to their opponents and, maybe be on upset alert.
Yeah, certainly. I feel like a lot of people aren't giving the Packers a fair shot in this game. So it'll be interesting. Rasheed Walker, I would say he had the best performance of his career against the Bears. And there certainly is a lot of worry with Mike Parsons. I mean, he is a very unique pass rusher. The stunts he is able to do are just unbelievable. However, I mean, there has been a lot of elite pass rushers that the Packers have shut down. I mean, Montez Sweat, the guy who galvanized this Bears defense, was a non-factor on Sunday. 2 weeks before that, they're shutting down Brian Burns. Chris Jones he's not an edge rusher, but Chris Jones was not present during the Chiefs game. They've done a solid job of shutting down pass rushers. This offensive line as a whole has done a much better job in the second half of the season. So applause to Luke Buckets for that. But Micah is definitely someone to watch. They obviously have a great back end with Al Harris coaching the secondary. So again, we've said this a lot this season, but the stakes just keep on getting higher for this Packers team, but they seem to keep on delivering. I feel like we've said quite a few times this season, okay, this is the biggest challenge for Jordan Love. I know I said that before the Vikings game. Like going up against the Brian Flores defense was the biggest challenge Jordan Love was going to face this year. He put 33 points up on them. They go up against the Bears. Okay, playoffs are on the line. This defense is doing really good right now against some solid offenses. Biggest chest Packers have. Boom, they deliver. Now the elevation from like the Vikings to the Bears is about that big, and then the Bears to the Cowboys is quite immense. It's going to be a tough matchup for this team. They're going to have to, like I said, it's going to require their best game of the season. But it should be a fun one, without a doubt. So I think that's where we'll wrap it up, unless you have any closing thoughts, Big B.
We're winning this game. Let's go. Win a Super Bowl. That's all. Go Pack Go.
All right, perfect. We will be back later in the week to fully preview this Dallas Cowboys game. So we appreciate you tuning in to this Bears game recap. And we'll talk to you then. As always, go Pack Go.